Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Breakfast with Sergio, special edition of artists working from home. And today I have with me Mandy Cano Villalobos, wonderful artist, wonderful friend. Well, hi, Mandy. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing good. Great to have you here on this chat here through video. Last time I saw you, we had that artist talk at Membranes of Perception, the exhibition I curated here at the Joby Art Center, which we still have your work here. And, how much the world changed from that day and then the following weeks. It was crazy.
Yes. Yeah. And without any warning, everything suddenly flipped upside down. Yeah.
We were planning a great opening reception for the show and all kinds of things for the show. And all of a sudden, boom, right? You guys have to close. So the show is still up in our gallery. All the work is still there. And we're hoping that, soon we can open and get people to come and see it, maybe in the small numbers. But
Right. Yeah. Maybe in August. I don't know.
Exactly. So thank you again for lending your work to us. And I really wanted to chat with you because I've been following your activity on Instagram, which is one of the wonderful things I'm liking about, the whole pandemic thing is that, I'm finding so much pleasure on really spending more time following the artists that I like and I love and seeing how they are working through this and what the things that are doing. Some of the things that you started doing as an artist, I really fascinated me, and I've been following you and sent you a couple of messages through Instagram as well on the work that you are doing. And I would like to chat about that. How you decided to use now this medium of the social media as a platform itself, to do some of your performance-based work versus doing a performance, doing a video of it. Now then you put it on social media to share, but actually now being social media, the actual part of the performance as well.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad people are picking up on that. Because even in my mind, it wasn't immediately something that was, part of the work, but I realized like they're both very much integrated. And so one of the things that I've been thinking is how can, if we're all isolated, how can we connect? And so Instagram is definitely one of the platforms that I personally enjoy connecting, to people over. And so in a way, how do we take away the spectacle of Instagram and instead use it as a way? And this is something that I said recently, in another interview, how do we use it in a way to connect people or to hold one another's hands through all of this?
Okay. No, that's wonderful. And so tell me a little bit about some of the the work that you have been doing, which has to do with kind of like this repetition, right? This notion of time passing and doing something over and over and over. And what I love about social media is that because you're doing it on, on video on the social media platform, it becomes a loop. So it becomes like never ending, right?
Yeah.
Pouring something, and it's like if you're using a boomerang on Instagram and it just never ends.
Right. That's a huge part of my work. Yeah. Just in terms of that, so the idea of Sisyphus is something that's, been ingrained in a lot of my concepts in the past couple of years. And a lot of that had to do with being a parent and kind of not finding any sense of finish or accomplishment, or there's no end. Once you clean the dishes, they get dirty again. Once you make a bed, somebody's going to sleep in it. If you change a diaper, it has to be changed again,
Right.
So, so just, and also ritual is something that's very much important to me because I grew up kind of as an acolyte in the Anglican church. So that idea of doing the same thing over and over and over again, each and every Sunday, walking up the aisle, walking down the aisle. So those ideas of ritual are something that's fundamental to to the sense of meaning in my work, and that idea of repetition in terms of accessing time in the present. How, instead of looking at these kind of histories or this, that's something that I'm interested in as well, but instead of thinking about time as chronologically passing, is there a way to enter into a new sense of time that is, ever presently now? And so I find that within isolation, or, you know, my kids were away for a while, so this sounds horrible, but like I really enjoyed isolation.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think for artists, you know, it's, yeah, you need that time to really focus and
right.
concentrate. Yeah, yeah, I totally get it.
But yeah, so but like the wonderful thing about it also is that there, you know, your clock, like our my
Mhm.
individual clock, everybody's individual clocks, if, you know, if we end up paying attention to the here and the now, we realize that all of the daily schedule that we've like been
Mhm.
conditioned to as a society kind of dissipates, and it's all about when
Right.
you get up and when you go to bed,
Mhm.
and it's not necessarily about like when you have to be at work, or when, you know, well, for some people it still is, but that idea of repetition gets down to the ritual of everyday living. Like, is there some sort of value that we can find in the waking up and in the lying down, or in the really boring things of
Mhm.
life? And I
Right.
kind of love the idea of boring because it's understated, because you have to be quiet and listen to something rather than trying to make something interesting, you know.
Mhm.
The boring forces us to slow down and think. And I think that right now we're all in this state of extreme, you know, boredom in a way.
Right.
So we all have to slow down, we all have to listen, and I
And
love that.
right, and I think that's why it kind of your work connected with me so fast, so quickly, because, you know, as you started to come in also on my feed, you know, after being, you know, in quarantine for, I don't know, 2 months or something, you know, it's like Sunday and Wednesday and Friday, they all look the same, right? So
Right.
there's no, you lose kind of that sense of the cycle of everything, right? So ideas and the things that we are used to kind of all blend into this weird time passing, uh,
Right.
you know, that we are all experiencing. Like you said, it becomes universal. And something I think that I found that in your work particularly is so fitting for the medium of Instagram is because, as I mentioned before, those videos, as if I go back and I look at a video that you posted maybe a month ago, it still look like if it's happening now, again, because it
Right.
has that loop process of, and because on Instagram, as you swipe, the video automatically plays, so there's not really a beginning and an end
Mm-hmm.
to the action that you are performing.
Yeah.
So it becomes a never-ending activity versus a typical video that you may have done on a setting and you post it in YouTube. When you go to YouTube, you click play, it starts,
Right.
comes to the end, video is over. Okay, I just watched Mandy Cano's, performance. On the
Right.
medium of Instagram, it just keeps going. If I stay there, it will never end.
Right. Yeah. And that's like, I feel like that's this reflection of what life is right now.
Right.
Like, life has suddenly become Instagram. I don't know, but I don't know about that.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I love that sense of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
that sense of atemporal time, or
exactly.
non-time. Yeah.
So tell me also, about your setup. Seems like, your installation, you're in a white room.
Mm-hmm.
How are you setting things up, consciously to make the scene that you want to present to the world?
So that was a complete and total accident. Like, all of
Okay.
these started out as they were unplanned. So I had these ideas for performances for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And then long story short, my kids stayed with my parents for almost 2 months, and I was repainting a room. And so I
Okay.
cleared out all the furniture, and I looked around and I realized, like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
this is like the perfect setting for a performance. I should start,
And
I
in
should paint
quarantine
more. So,
time.
like, right. So I worked out one of the
Mhm.
ideas that I had, which was ripping pages from a book.
Hmm.
And if you notice, like, everything's very frontal. And so
Mhm.
I'm thinking about, like, I mean, I come from a 2D background, so I'm definitely thinking about that idea of like a frontal presentation, but that of course kind of echoes these ideas of the painting as a stage.
Mhm.
Um, so really it's almost like the performance as a stage. And then having that white room and doing the first performance, I'm like, well, shoot, that turned out well.
Mm-hmm.
Why not do more? So then day after
The
day.
furniture can wait, right?
Right, yeah, I mean, it really was this perfect setup. So I was like, I'm totally taking advantage of this. Plus there's no children to like scream at me.
Right.
So yeah, that worked out
Mm-hmm.
really well and unexpectedly. Again,
Right.
like a happy accident of
Yeah.
quarantine.
Yeah, and those are the things that we're all finding ourselves doing, creating new ways, creating new ideas that maybe were there before, as you said, but now they find themselves in a new realm in new ways. And perhaps, even more interesting than whatever we were going to plan to do with them at the beginning. And one of the wonderful things that, as you've been doing these things is also the attention that he has received. And congratulations, you were recently featured in the New York Times as one of the artists to follow and to watch as we are in quarantine. So tell me a little bit about also the response of the audience, of the people on the other side of this device as you do a performance, you put it out there. What are the conversations that happen afterwards?
Well, so the New York Times review with Jillian Steinhauer, she first came across my work a couple of years ago, and I had no idea that she was, looking at what I was doing. And then I just got a random email from, someone working at the New York Times, and I was like, sweet. And then I didn't know that she was the one who, was writing about this. So that was kind of great. And then also recently I had an interview with the University of Michigan Institute for Humanities, a program that they're doing called House Calls, where they Zoom in with a variety of different artists working throughout Michigan. And they really seem to respond to my performances as well. And so one of the things that I'm realizing is that, what's also interesting is I've gotten like some negative comments on Instagram,
Well,
like, this doesn't take any talent. And I'm like, that's okay, whatever. It's not what it's about. But like that, I think that people are really resounding with that white space because it's this sort of empty absence that reflects like the mental state of everyone right now. And then the sort of, in a way, like, yes, it's boring, but it's also like futile and stupid to scrub a small square of really nasty floor with a toothbrush, or, or count peas by ones and, moving them from one bowl to another. So that kind of like nonsense, I think it's something that people are latching onto because we all kind of, and I think this is true outside of, isolation as well. We all want to have some sort of purpose or meaning, right? We all want to, we hope and think that whatever we do, even though it seems stupid or meaningless at the time, like within the larger picture, hopefully it will have some sort of like real worth or some, ramifications that are outside of the immediate moment. And that, at least that's what I'm hoping that people are getting from these, performances. So there is like a sense of frustration involved, but that frustration is tied to, at least in my mind, a hope.
Right. And I think that, as we look at your work and as we look more in depth at the work that you have done in the past in the context of what you have been doing and how it all kind of works together, and it totally makes sense. Mandy, where can our friends find you on social media? If you can share your Instagram and also your website so our friends can find you there.
Yeah, I'm www.mandycano.com, and on Instagram, I am Mandy_Cano_Villalobos.
Excellent. Well, it's always a pleasure chatting with you in person. Of course, always better, but even here through this video, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. Hope you have a great rest of your day. I know you're busy with your kids too and their homeschooling and all that stuff. I don't know what you had to do to keep them quiet and entertained.
No, they actually, so there's a door right here, and one child was like holding up his workbook like, go away. I was like, so yeah, this was totally not uninterrupted, but you don't know that. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, Sergio.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. Please share this episode with your friend. Follow Mandy on Instagram, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a great day. Goodbye.